सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गीता ध्यानम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् त्वामनुसन्धधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। नमोऽस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रा येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवैत्रेकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला। अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरननति कैवर्तककेशवः। पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थघण्टोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाभूदितम्। लोके सज्जन षट्परैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा याद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदे गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Hari Om. So we saw last time that Bhagavan has taught the concept of avatar beautifully. And a couple of aspects of this concept that he covered that I just want to touch upon briefly as we begin today's satsang. One, Atmanam Srijamyaham. By my own will, by my will, I take physical form. And he also referred to Dharmasya. Dharmasya means of Dharma. And Dharma, 360-degree view of Dharma. All aspects of Dharma covered. But typically in this context, at an individual level, Bhagavan is saying, when he says Dharmasya, of the aspect of people working towards attaining their goal, performing karma towards attaining their goal, purushartha. And at a cosmic level, Bhagavan is saying, dharma samsthapanarthaya, with the goal of re-establishing dharma whenever there is decay that happens over the passage of time. And Bhagavan says that one who understands this concept of avatara, that person, and one who understands the concept in true light, in the correct manner, in true light, attains liberation. Bhakti or devotion in Bhagavan is enabled through his avatara. And Bhagavan says, Manmaya Mam, absorbed in me, Mam Upashritaha, taking refuge in me. And these two put together, Manmaya Mam Upashritaha, denotes Sharanagati. And Bhagavan says, Jnana Tapasa, the knowledge that the person gains through austerities. Essentially, we saw that Bhagavan is Nirguna and Nirakara in nature. Nirguna means without any gunas, the three gunas, Satvik, Rajasic and Tamasic gunas. And Nirakara means without any specific form. We can only imagine the form of Bhagavan. And the avatara is Saguna Sakara. Saguna is with gunas and Sakara is with a decipherable form, a derivable form, a comprehensible form. And the purpose of avatara is also to establish the connect for human beings with Bhagavan. So one of the beauties of Bhagavad Gita, today also, I think, my speaking itself will go on till about 5:30 or so, because we have a lot of verses to cover till we finish chapter 4, which is the plan to do today. But the beauty is we can, cover Bhagavad Gita in various ways. Either we can go sequentially, or we can revise each section like we are doing, or we can actually take one verse and spend the entire satsang on that verse. Some of the verses in chapter 4, we can actually spend entire satsang or maybe even more in that itself. And some verses we can connect up, like I have mentioned earlier. For example, Nirguna, Nirakara, Saguna, Sakara. All of this we can actually connect up across various chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. Like Bhagavan will refer to this in much more detail in chapter 12. So specific aspects that Bhagavan is trying to teach us across chapters, right from the introduction in chapter 2, we can link and discuss those concepts. So multiple ways, and each way that we read the Bhagavad Gita in any of these ways, the more depth we get and the more interesting it becomes. That is why they say the sooner we start, the better. A lifetime is also less to cover all of this. And Bhagavan says in the verse number 9 of this chapter we saw, one who knows me thus in true light, my divine birth and action, is not born again and comes to me, O Arjuna. It is rather difficult to comprehend the aspect of the infinite sporting a finite form. And those who are able to do this reach me, is what Bhagavan is trying to say. But how does one first know the avatar, the finite? Bhagavan now talks about action and inaction and how he deals with action and inaction as an avatar. So we'll start with verse number 14 of chapter 4.
Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phalispraha, iti mam yo bhijanati, karma bhirna sabhadyate.
So Bhagavan is saying, karmani na limpanti mam. Actions do not stain me. Limpanti means do not touch, do not besmear, do not stain. And what do not stain? Karmani, actions. Stain what? Mam, me. Na spriha karma phale. And there also Bhagavan says me, may. No desire for fruit of actions or fruit from actions are there in me. I do not desire for the fruits from the actions that I perform. And that is the reason karmani na limpanti mam. And then Bhagavan says, thus iti, whoever, yaha. And Bhagavan is saying whoever. He is not talking about any class, creed, race, nationality, sex, nothing. Whoever, anyone. Whoever abhijanati mam, knows me fully, completely. Abhi means fully, completely, thoroughly. Sana badhyate karma bihi. This person is not bound by actions. So if we know this nature of Bhagavan, then the individual also is not bound by actions, is what Bhagavan says. Thus, Arjuna, knowing me, you perform your actions. And he continues. We'll do verse 16 and 17 together.
Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajñātva mokṣyase shubhat karmano hyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam ca vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam tahana karmano gatihi.
So actually two very beautiful verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Kim karma, kim akarma. What is action? What is inaction? Bhagavan is also he's asking that to Arjuna, to his student. What is action, Arjuna? What is inaction? And then he says, Kavayaha api mohita. Even the wise are deluded to this. See, Bhagavan had earlier said, so many wise people have done this in so many yugas. Please follow them. He actually instructs Arjuna to follow them. And then he's saying now, but these people themselves are deluded. Why does he say that? Because if you remember, he has also said, Sakalena Mahata. Over a period of time, over the yugas, this wisdom has died. And because of that, look at Bhagavan, what he is saying now. He says, because of this, they are deluded, and because of which, tat karma pravakshyami te, that action I myself shall teach to you. So how fortunate Arjuna is. Because there are no wise people, from whom you can learn reliably, I myself will teach that action to you. Yajñātva mokṣyase shubhat, knowing which you shall be liberated from evil. Ashubhat, evil, from evil. This is mokṣyase ashubhat. From evil, evil means what? Whatever prevents you from doing your karma yoga, whatever prevents you from performing the right action, whatever prevents you from doing your duties. What is Arjuna doing? He's sitting there, refusing to perform his duties. So whatever that is blocking you from getting up and doing your duty right now, I will teach you so that you are liberated from that. But one misconception which can obviously arise is that doesn't action mean doing, quote unquote, do? That is action, no? And inaction means absence of doing, not doing. So what is there to learn about it? So simple. So Bhagavan now further elaborates and he says, there is a fact, Arjuna. There is a tattva, there is a fact that makes action and inaction what they are. Karma and akarma, what they are. And Bhagavan says, bodhavyam, this fact should be known, bodhavyam. And what fact should be known? Karmano hyapti bodhavyam, vikarmanaha api bodhavyam. And akarmanacha bodhavyam. So karmanaha should be known, vikarmanaha should be known, akarmanaha should be known. Karmanaha, good action. Vikarmanaha, forbidden action, prohibited action. Karmanaha actually means action. But because Bhagavan is using vikarmanaha along with karmanaha, Vikarmana means forbidden. So karmana implies good action, what is not forbidden. And then akarmana, inaction. And why should you know this fact? Why should you know this tattva? Because gahna gati karmano. This path of action, this way of action is deep, gahana, deep, imponderable, cannot be pondered. And Bhagavan says, this deepness, this something that cannot be pondered about action, I shall teach you, pravakshyami, directly. In fact, that is one thing in today's Kali Yuga, the more we are able to learn directly from Bhagavan, the better. And there are only two ways to learn directly from Bhagavan. One is the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and two is relating what you are studying spiritually to the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and to the Bhagavan who is residing inside you. When we do this combination of these three sincerely, he will teach us directly. Because it's very, very misleading sometimes when we take refuge in people who are themselves deluded, who are appearing as the Kavayaha or the Medhavis, but are themselves deluded. So it's very, very important. So in the ancient times, I love this example of why we should not depend too much on organized religion, because organized religion has selfish goals. And what does Bhagavan says? Do not work with selfish goals. He will say more of that now. So these Vikings, they were what? They were the sea warriors, the pirates. And, everybody used to be extremely fearful of them all over. And in those days, 8th to 11th century, 8th to 10th century, around that time, the Vikings ruled across the planets. They used to plunder and rule. But they themselves, the Vikings, were scared of something. And that was the solar eclipse. So imagine, these guys who are terrorizing the world are themselves scared of the solar eclipse. That's because there's something, the sun, everyone sees the sun as something that sustains life on the planet. Without the sun, sustaining life on the planet is going to be impossible. And there is this something that is coming and harming the sun. In the middle of the day, it is eclipsing it, swallowing it. And not only that, if you look up to it and so what would Vikings do? They would brandish their weapons, yell, scream, throw a tantrum at that whatever that enemy is. And those who looked up at it were blinded. So they were completely, absolutely petrified of this solar eclipse. But they didn't understand what was going on. What then was the truth? Much before the Vikings, there was this in 200th century BC, Aristarchus, one of the earliest philosophers, he had said that it was the earth that revolved around the sun. But organized religion did not want people to believe that. And they called it blasphemy, and they imprisoned him and did all kinds of things to him. So organized religion with the quote-unquote so-called, at that time, the people who called Aristarchus, whatever he said, blasphemy, were the Pope, was the Pope. And imprisoned him and so on and so forth. Because they had selfish goals. If you said the earth revolved around the sun, which was against what the church was teaching, then the power of the Pope goes away. So to know the truth beyond or behind karma and akarma, Bhagavan says, know what is karma and what is akarma. Complete cessation of activities is not possible in this life, because activity is the cornerstone of life. Everything and anything is revolving around activity. And at the same time, it constitutes moments of inactivity. In general, it is thought that when there is inactivity, there is no progress. And only when there is activity can progress happen. But what is the truth? What is the tattva? Is action really equal to no action? Is all of action that is happening really equal to action? We will see some of this beautifully in the next few minutes. So, most of you know, I was in the army, right? I served in the army. Just to relate a story from there, a soldier says to the general, "Sir, I'm going to action," salutes the general and goes to the battlefield. And war is going on. And what is war? All kinds of activities. Taking shelter, running, firing, hiding, shouting, evading, shooting. It's the hub of activity. And in the command post, in the bunker, the general is sitting without doing anything, doing nothing. At the end of the day, the soldier comes back, returns, goes straight to the general, salutes him, and he says to the general, "General, thank you, sir. You saved our regiment today." So the general, while he appeared inactive, was doing what he was thinking, contemplating, studying the scenario, what was happening, listening, evaluating various aspects, various pieces of information that were being delivered to him, putting all of them together, stitching them all together, making meaningful, decipherable learning from all of that. And then at the crucial moment, takes a decision. That decision makes the soldier come back from the hub of activity to the hub of inactivity and tell the general that, "Thank you, sir, you saved us today." We will see about the charioteer general in a bit. So life, as we saw, is comprised of activity and inactivity. Within the realm of activity are actions that should be done and actions that should be avoided, which is what we just saw Bhagavan touch upon. Both are in the realm of action. Both actions that should be done and the actions that should be avoided are in the realm of action. Hence, both are karma. But the action that is to be avoided is called vikarma, and the action that should be done is called karma. And karma is of three types. Nitya karma. Nitya karma are duties that one must do every day. And naimittika, we saw all this earlier also. Okay, I won't spend too much time on this. Naimittika karma, duties that are prescribed by occasion. These two together are called niyata karma, or obligatory duties. And then there is kamya karma. Kamya karma are karma that are generated through desire. And in order to get them done, you need to have goals. Come from desire and need goals to be executed upon. Akarma or inaction is of two types. One is tushnim bhava, which means tranquility, silence. This could also be a state of action. Like, for example, if you see a fan that is rotating at very high speed, appears still, you don't see the blades, and there is no sound also. But there is intense activity. Electricity, you don't see it moving and, but there is intense energy. It lights up darkness when the sun is on the other side of the planet, or the planet has revolved, whichever way you choose to believe. And then there is tamasic bhava, which means dullness or laziness. We have read about tamas. So essentially life has two elements, activity and inactivity. Activity can be of two types, karma and vikarma. Karma is good action or actions to be done. Vikarma, actions to be avoided. And karma or actions that are to be done are of three types. Nitya karma, naimittika karma, kamya karma. Daily duties, duties that are based on occasion, both together obligatory and desire driven. And inactivity has tushni bhava, which is silence or tranquility, and tamasik bhava, which is laziness or dullness. And Bhagavan says that there is a truth that makes them what they are, karma and akarma, action and inaction. And this should be known. Not only does he say this should be known, what is karma, what is vikarma, what is akarma. He says, pravakshami, I shall teach you. So we move on to one of the most beautiful. In fact, this is the verse based on which we have the sadhana for chapter 4. Remember, after all chapters, we have something that we define, we should practice. The sadhana for chapter 4 is this verse. We will recite verse 18.
कर्मण्यः कर्म यः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृत्स्न कर्मकृत्.
Karmanya karmanya paschet. That breaks down into karmani, which means in action. Yah paschet, who sees. Akarma, in action. In action, two separate words. Karmani, in action. One who sees, in action, one word. And cha means and. Akarmani, yah paschet, again karma. In inaction, who sees action. So one who is able to see in action, one who sees inaction, and in inaction, one who sees action. Karmanyak karmanyak paschet. Sabuddhiman manushyesu. Such a person, this person, is said to be wise among human beings. Why? Because this person can see beyond the facade, whatever the facade may be, by the way. The person who, Aristarchus, beyond the facade said, hey, you know what? And he did beautiful drawings. By if you Google Aristarchus, some of his drawings are there. He did beautiful drawings to show how planet Earth revolves around the sun, seeing beyond the facade. Sabuddhiman manusheshu, and Bhagavan says sayuktaha. He is equipped with the knowledge, possessed of the yuktaha, possessed, because the person is performing karma yoga. The knowledge came because of that jnana tapasa. The jnana tapasa comes from the austerities, the karma yoga. Kritsna karma krita, because she sees reality as it is, experiential, and seeing that reality as it is, performs all the actions. Sri Ramanujacharya said, and I quote, activities taking place through the body, mind, and intellect are karma or action. And the supreme knowledge of reality is akarma or inaction. Karma and jnana are complementary to each other, unquote. So Sri Krishna and Arjuna are in the middle of the battlefield. Right? Arjuna only commanded his charioteer, Senayo Ubayor Madhye, in the middle of the battlefield. And the scene is of that immortalized Bhagavad Gita image. That is the first line. Karmanya karmanya paschet akarmanicha karmayaha. That what I mean by this immortalized Bhagavad Gita image, you've all seen that, right? The chariot, Sri Krishna in the front, Arjuna not with bows drawn, sitting on the floor of the chariot with the bows and arrows and everything else on the side. That is the typical Bhagavad Gita image, the chariot. So Sri Krishna is in the front, left hand, wielding an iron grip at the reins of these horses, which are high energy horses, spirited horses, ready at the command of the charioteer to perform their duty. And his right hand in Jnana Mudra. So in the original introductory session, we saw what Jnana Mudra is. So left hand holding iron grip on the reins, right hand with Jnana Mudra, imparting wisdom to this dejected devotee of his. Dejected, yet at the same time, who has submitted. Dejected, submitted devotee. So while this avatara, body, mind, and intellect are engaged, calmness reigns absolutely supremely, indicating that the Supreme, embodied as Sri Krishna, is ever established in inaction. Poise in the midst of purpose, inaction in action. This is the inspiring principle this is why Bhagavan gets the name Yogeshwara, the Ishvara of the yugas, whichever way you want to see it. And on the other hand, Arjuna, he has cast off his bows and arrows, sitting down dejectedly, seemingly inactive, appearing completely without active. But guess what? Great commotion reigns within him. He's tortured by the conflict of the duty that he needs to perform, while seemingly he has renounced his duty. The miserable Arjuna embodies action in inaction, seemingly inactive, but absolutely in turmoil. Sri Ramakrishna says, a yogi, and I quote, a yogi ought to be in the world, but not of the world. He keeps his solitude and his hands in society. She works incessantly and enjoys an eternal holiday, unquote. Through his personal life, Bhagavan Sri Krishna offers a grand philosophy of action in inaction to the world. A world that repeatedly, like a moth getting drawn towards light, veers towards inaction in action. So like a pole dancer who holds on, grips onto the pole and is spinning, with that strength of that grip, can perform all kinds of antics around the pole at great speed and with tremendous ease. Similarly, one who has understood the concept of inaction in action and action in inaction easily carries out the duties that the person needs to do in the spinning world. With what? With the mind grip, the mental grip firmly in Bhagavan. And Bhagavan continues in verse 19.
Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagnidakta karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha.
So Bhagavan says this person, such a person who's yasya is such a person, sarve samarambhaha, all the undertakings of this person's, whatever action that this person is doing, whatever actions that are underway, kama sankalpa virajitaha, are free of kama and sankalpa. We studied both these words in detail earlier. Kama is desire, sankalpa is motive. And karmanam, jnanagni dagda, whose actions are burnt by the fire of knowledge. So the actions of this person are like roasted seeds, like you know, when you roast seeds and have chana, moongfali and all of that. They do not sprout. These seeds do not sprout, but they are extremely tasty. Similarly, this person's actions are burnt by the fire of knowledge. And Bhagavan says, Tamahu panditav buddha. The wise call this person a sage. And then he continues in verse 20.
Yattva karma phala sangam nitya dripto nirashrayaha karmanya vipravitopi naiva kinchit karoti saha.
Yattva, so many times Bhagavan has used give up, let go, give up, let go. Yattva, having given up. Given up what? Asangam. Sangam is attachment. Asangam is excessive attachment. Having given up this excessive attachment to what? Karma phala. Karma, which is action, and its phala, which is the fruit. Giving up attachment to karma is the same as not having kartritva or the sense of doership. I am doing. And giving up attachment to phala is not having the sense of bhoktritva, which is what? I am enjoying. When you do not feel that I am doing, and when you do not feel that I am enjoying, that is tyaktva asangam karma phala. And how is this person able to do that? This person does it naturally. He has reached a stage of maturity, spiritual maturity, where the person is able to do this naturally. And why? Because the person is nitya triptaha nirashrayaha. Ever content, always tripta. Nitya, always tripta. Nirashrayaha. without any asha, not depending on anything that is external for self-satisfaction. Remember, we saw Atma Tripti, Atma Rati, Atma Santushti. The person who is Nitya Tripta Nirashraya, such a person, Karmani Abhipravitraha. So in action, Karmani Abhipravrittaha is engaged fully, completely. And Naiva Kinchit Karoti Saha. This person surely does not do anything. In these two verses, Bhagavan has beautifully laid out or beautifully detailed out how in action, while performing action, a person can remain free of action. And then he continues, we'll go to verse 21 and 22.
निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम् यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टः बन्ध्वातीतो विमत्सरः समसिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते.
Nirashihi, we just saw that, right? Without hopes, without wishes, without wants, without dependency. How is that possible? Because this person is inwardly fulfilled. Nitya Triptaha. Atma Tripti, Atma Santushti. Yata Chittatma. Naturally controlled body, mind and intellect. Chittatma, body, mind and intellect. Tyakta Sarva Parigraha. Tyakta, we just saw, having abandoned all Sarva Parigraha, sense of mine, sense of this belongs to me, that possession. This object or whatever is mine comes from the sense of possessing, Parigraha, having abandoned all the such sense of possession. Things that are meant for fulfilling the desire. Like dogs save the bone for future enjoyment. They'll dig it up and then undig it and chew it again. Similarly, we also do. The ice cream 5-liter boxes, we buy it, put it in the freezer and keep enjoying it again and again and again over a period of a week or maybe more. The Pepsi, I used to work for Pepsi. You know, we used to have the small 200 milliliter bottle. Then it became 1-liter bottle. So what we use to fulfill our desire, that sense of possession, so that I know, hey, it is there, whenever I want, I can enjoy myself with that. Without all of that, tyakta and shariram kevalam karma. This can be interpreted in two ways. Performing actions only for body mind. Kevalam can be only just to maintain. So the accomplished yogis, they will perform actions only for body, only that is necessary to maintain the BMI as long as they are alive. Kevalam also means merely, in an unattached manner, doing whatever they are doing. Being karma yogis have to do that. The ultimate accomplished yogi who is going from Savikalpa Samadhi to Nirvikalpa Samadhi may perform actions that are kevalam only for bodily maintenance. But the karma yogi has to perform all kinds of actions, but kevalam merely performs without having any attachment. So only and merely, just the action, no thought of why, how, what am I going to get, why am I doing this, and so on and so forth. And Kuruvan, doing in this manner, na apnoti kilbisham, does not incur sin. Kilbisham, sin, is disturbance within the mind. And how does this person manage all of this? This person is able to manage all of this because santushta, the person is happy with yadricha labha. Yadricha means something which just comes without expectation. That which comes without expectation, without desire, any labha, anything that comes as a bonus, when you don't have expectation, what you get is a bonus. So everything becomes a bonus. this person is santushta with that. Happy, contented with whatever comes. Accepting what comes without expecting. Accepting and expecting. So this is the tattva, the truth. So I have, in sitting in Anjanagiri, my tea farm, I thought there's a beautiful expansion of the word tea, T-E-A. Truth, which is the tattva that Bhagavan is trying to teach. E for expectation and A for acceptance. So accepting whatever comes without expectation. And atitaha dvandva, free from the pairs of the dualities, the opposites, the pair of opposites. We saw that in chapter 2 itself. So what are the pairs of opposites? Heat and cold for the body. Then disrespect and respect for the intellect. And happy and sad for the mind. So for the body, mind and intellect, these are the three opposites fundamentally that cover the other opposites also. And Bhagavan says, no, sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labho jaya jaya. So free from dandva, free from these opposites, atitaha, free. And Bhagavan also says free from vimata saraha, free from envy. And by being like this, the person is sama siddhau cha asiddhau. The person is same. The person is balanced. The person is equipoised. What is that? Prasada buddhi. What was the previous one? Not having expectation. That is Ishvara Arpana buddhi. Doing whatever you are doing for Bhagavan, for the higher. And receiving whatever you are receiving with prasada buddhi. Balance, equipoised manner. In siddhau and asiddhau. In success and in failure. And such a person, kritvapi na nibhadyate, is not bound to action, remains unattached. Not bound to action means what? Like Bhagavan said, I am you. If you recognize me as this person, this avatara who is not attached to action. Now he is saying such a person, such a human being is also not attached to, not bound, tied up by action. Because the binding force of action is what? The binding force of the action is the desire. One of the very crucial roles in the Indian Army is that of a paratrooper. These commandos, paratroopers are commandos that are taken in an aircraft. Commandos are people who go deep inside the enemy territory to perform duties and to come back, specific tasks. Commandos are taken by the aircraft and they are airdropped. They parachute down from anywhere between 15,000 to 30, 35,000, 40,000 feet. One of the most critical roles, because taking by aircraft means you can go deeper into the enemy territory. Right? That small thing which was there, no, which Modi keeps talking about. What is it called? The
surgical strikes.
Surgical strike. Thank you. The surgical strike, right? Surgical strike is a commando operation. So these commandos, these paratroopers, there are two people who are involved in this job. One is the paratrooper himself or herself. Nowadays, there are lady paratroopers also. People who go and parachute deep into the enemy territory, perform duties and come back. The other is this person who is packing this parachute. So even if you do this paradropping as an adventure sport, there is somebody who has packed what is going to bring you down from that 15,000, 20,000 feet. That's someone, right? This soldier who packs the parachutes probably packs hundreds of parachutes every day. Especially when there is war, when there is action, you have to keep packing these parachutes. That person, for this person, the action of packing the parachute is shariram kevalam karma. Merely get the action done and do it with samachara, with quality. Because if he messes up that packing, the person who is jumping can die. But it is shariram kevalam karma, merely performing the action. That person is not going to use that parachute, not jump with it, nothing. The other one who is going to jump, the paratrooper, for that person, yadriksha siddhau cha asiddhau samaha. He may jump and suddenly, the enemy may have ambushed him because they have seen that these guys are coming. completely unexpected. He may jump, go down, perform all the tasks he has to perform successfully, like India did in the surgical strike, and come back. So Siddhau cha Asiddhau, this person has to be Samaha. So how do these people, whether it is that person who merely performs or this person who needs to be balanced in the face of extremities which are coming from outside, how do they perform action? Bhagavan continues in verse 23.
Gata sanghasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasaha yajnaya charata karma samagram praviliyate.
So the person performs this action with the mind firmly established in knowledge. Jnanavasthita chetasaha. What knowledge? Of being, or rather of not being the doer and not being the enjoyer. Of being akarta and abhokta. That knowledge. Neither am I doing it, nor am I going to enjoy it. And therefore, because of this attitude because of this, having this knowledge of being akarta and abhokta, being muktasya. Muktasya means, so akarta, there is no kartritva. Abhokta, there is no bhoktritva. Which means being free of doership and free of enjoyership. And because of that, being gata sangasya, not wanting anything, is able to be that person who enjoys or accepts whatever comes unexpectedly, devoid of any attachment. So how does this person then act? Yajnaya. You have seen this term yajna, and in this chapter Bhagavan details it out beautifully. Yajnaya, for the sake of duty, for the sake of sacrifice, with the spirit of sacrifice for the higher. Could be any kind of sacrifice. We saw 5 kinds, right? Any of those, combination or one. Deva yajna, Brahma yajna, Pitru yajna, Manushya yajna, Bhuta yajna. Any of those. Permutation, combination of any of those. The person performs action. Acharataha. The person performs action. And thus, samagram karma praviliyate. The entire samagram. Samagram means sama plus agra. Agra is tip. Samagra is everything inclusive of the tip. So I've climbed the mountain and also touched the peak and come down. Not that I've climbed the mountain and come down without touching the peak. Scaled it completely, encompassing everything. So it refers to the action, including the fruit of that. The tip here refers to the fruit of the action. And all of it, the whole of it, the whole of what? Karma, action, praviliyate, means it is dissolved. And the next verse explains that when performed in such a manner, every component of action is an expression of that Brahman. We'll go to verse 24.
Brahmarpanam brahmavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaivadena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina.
There's also one more beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. And more, you would have heard a lot of people reciting this verse before consuming food. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaivatena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. The Brahman. What is this Brahman? The substratum which is required for all changes to take place. For any change, scientifically also, for any change to happen, there is this changeless substratum. For all the changes that are happening in this creation, the unchanging substratum is the Brahman, the underlying, the unchanging, which supports the changing panorama of the world. And that is supreme. The previous verse, what did it say? The previous verse said that action should be performed as an act of sacrifice to the Supreme, renunciating the lower to attain the higher. So the favorite example, what? We have said it so many times. In fitness, renunciating sleep or sacrificing sleep to attain fitness or for doing the exercise. What is the nature of such sacrifice? What is the fundamental principle behind it? So material actions are compulsory for every living entity. And all living entities are bound to this world, to the material world. So material actions are compulsory for living entities that are bound to this material world. In such a mundane, restless existence, that ability to discharge these actions with faith is called yajna. So this verse now explains the attitude and the experience both of this person who is able to perform action as yajna. What action is yajna? All action is yajna. And that person is a perfect sage. There are 5 components or constituents of yajna or sacrifice. To this person, all of these 5, each one of them is the eternal supreme, the Brahman. So Brahmarpanam, the Arpanam is Brahman. Arpanam is what? Offering. Brahma Havihi, the ingredients that are offered is Brahman. Brahmagnau, that into which the ingredients are offered is Brahman. That which subsumes these ingredients, that is also Supreme Brahman. Brahmana Hutam, the one who offered the self, that also is Supreme Brahman. Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, the goal that is reached, that also is Supreme Brahman. And Brahma Karma Samadhina, the very karma, the very action, that action that requires that deep focus, chitta ekagrata, that itself is also Supreme Brahman. Thus, every aspect of action and the action itself is the Supreme Brahman. How beautiful a statement this is. And let's see this, okay, to explain this in a manner that we can also understand it better. In every yajna, there are 5 elements, we said. Now let us examine these 5 elements from the aspect of ritual and also from the aspect of activity. Activity, what I referred to become fitter, you need to sacrifice sleep. From that activity perspective, that's the example that I use. Arpanam, the offering or oblation, including the instrument with which it is offered. The ladle or the oblation, that is the offering. The oblation is what is offered and the offering. The effort that is required to wake up when you are sleeping, that 1 hour extra, put the alarm, get up at 5 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. or 6 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. That effort, what is behind it for the exercise, that is Arpana. Havihi, the ingredients or the materials that constitute the offering itself. So in the ritual, it is the ghee, which is poured into the fire of sacrifice. In our example, it is the sleep which you give up. Or the warmth of the nice, comfortable bed. You have laid it down beautifully before the previous night, before you went to sleep. Had all the lights and everything adjusted so that I can get good sleep. That warmth, that comfort, that you got to let go and get up. Then Agni, into which the offerings are subsumed. In the ritual, it's the fire. In this example, sleep is poured into waking. The warmth of the bed is poured into the discomfort of, let us say, outside is very chilly, cold. So you put your ear mufflers and go running. Or that high heart rate that you attain, slightly discomforting or uncomfortable. So that is that into which the offering is subsumed. Brahmana is the one who is making the sacrifice. In the ritual, the priest or the sponsor. Sometimes, as per our custom and all, everybody can't do the offering. There's one person who is not qualified, the priest is qualified. The priest herself or himself can be the one who is making the sacrifice, or the sponsor can be making the sacrifice. In the example, the athlete, the person who is going for that run, the person who is playing whatever, that person going to exercise, that exerciser. Then Gantavyam, the goal that is reached, what is reached by this individual, this performer of the yajna. That goal for the ritual person is the sankalpa. For example, housewarming ceremony, the sankalpa is, God, please bless my house. Everything nice should happen in this house. I should never die. I should be always alive in this house. For this person who is doing the exercise, so the absolutely perfect BMI rating, loss of weight, I have to come down from 70 kgs to 55 kgs, 6 packs, the abs, 6-pack abs. If I have to practice for a tournament, victory in that tournament. If it's not related to exercise, I have to get up early in the morning to study for my exam. My niece Amrita has to get up at 6 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. to catch her bus that takes her to the office. So that's that goal. That is the goal. So this is when we do all of this, thinking that everything, all the elements of action and the action itself is the supreme. So Bhagavan has told us this part. Okay, that is this very spirit with which yajna is performed. What is that spirit? That everything is supreme. Everything is the higher idea. That becomes Ishvara Arpana. Now Bhagavan shows how through life all our actions can actually be performed as a yajna. If you cannot, what you mean is, if you cannot do it this way, do it that way. Bhagavan gives alternative, 12 such options based on the capability and the inclination of the human being. I'm not going to cover that in the revision. I've already covered it earlier. I requested you when I sent you the message to please go through those 45 minutes, if not the entire satsang, right? I think 26 or 27. If you have not done so, please do that again. If you can do that even after this satsang, anytime you have time, it will be good. There, Bhagavan actually gives us so many options of doing various things in our life as a yajna. And now, what is the outcome of those 12 yajnas? That Bhagavan covers in the second line of the verse 30th. We will go through that.
Sarve pete yajna vidaha yajna kshapita kalmashaha.
So Bhagavan says, Sarva pyete yajna vidaha. All those who know the yajnas, the knowers of what sacrifices. If I have sacrificed that 1 hour of sleep, I know exactly what it is. That knower of the sacrifice, yajna pita kalmashaha, they destroy their sins through the sacrifice. That knowledge, see, that knowledge comes from performing only. No, if I don't sacrifice the sleep, I won't know what it means to sacrifice the sleep. But if I sacrifice the sleep again and again and again and again over a period of time, I know extremely well what it means to sacrifice the sleep. Then I become the person who is yajna pita kalmashaha. Destroy their sins through the sacrifice. Kalmashaha is mental dirt. The disturbance is, it disturbs me that I am 10 kgs overweight. Does it not? It disturbs me that, oh my God, I have to do this exam, I have to clear it. I have this tournament, I have to perform well. All of these worldly activities disturbs us. By making the sacrifice, you get rid of that disturbance. Simple but fantastic technique that Bhagavan gives. Those mental dirts, the disturbances, the sins, they are shapitaha. Shapitaha means they are washed away. They are completely destroyed. By what? By sacrifice, by yajna. And then Bhagavan says, let's read 31.
Yajnashishtamritabhujaha yati brahma sanatanam nayam lokostya yajnasya kutonya kuru sattama.
Yajna Shrishtam Rita Bhujo. The remnants of sacrifice. Yajna. Yajna Shrishta, what remains after performing the sacrifice. And what does Bhagavan say? What remains? Amrita. Whenever or whatever a person does must be conducive to the higher purpose. Ishvara Arpana. Everything is for the Supreme Brahman. When that happens, everything is conducive to the, aligned to the higher purpose. When that happens, the remnants of that become nectar, become Amrita. This means that every act of self-denial takes the person to perfection. And Bhagavan says, definitely, Yanti Brahma Sanatanam. They reach the Supreme Eternal Brahman, for whom they are doing with belief that everything is that Supreme Brahman. When you do everything thinking that everything is that Supreme Brahman, all elements and the whole is Supreme Brahman, then you reach that Supreme Brahman. That's true, right? We see with every successful person. Okay, when Roger Federer is trying to win a championship, everything, every action is for that championship. And that entire everything is also that championship. He reaches the, becomes the champion. I can say that I think for our Prime Minister Narendra Modi also. I think for probably a decade or so in his life, he did everything towards becoming the Prime Minister of this country. And he became the Prime Minister of this country. So when you do everything for the Supreme, you attain the Supreme. And Nayam Lokostya Yagyasya, a person who does not perform Yagya, this world, Bhagavan says, is surely not for that person. Meaning what? Meaning this person will not be able to achieve goals in the life. Your own goals, the individual's own goals will not be able to be achieved. Kutonyaha kuru sattama. And if a person is not able to achieve the goals in the life, own goals, simple goals, whether it is reducing weight or winning tournament or becoming Prime Minister, whatever it may be, then how, O Kuru, O best among Kuru, Kuru Sottama, the best among Kurus, the entire lineage, Arjuna is the best in his entire lineage. Kutonyaha, how then can that person achieve something which is a higher pursuit? If you can't achieve even day-to-day pursuit, how will you achieve higher pursuits? And Bhagavan now says in verse 33,
Shreyan dravyamaya yajnat jnana yajna parantapa sarvam karma khilam parta jnane parisamapyate.
compared to all yagyas, Bhagavan listed out 12 yagyas. Okay, that's what he's referring to, which are performed with and through material objects. See, all the yagyas are performed, through material objects. The tools used are material, objects used are materials, the goals are material, everything is material. So compared to all these yagyas which are performed through and with material objects, the sacrifice of knowledge is superior. And all actions in their entirety culminate in knowledge. Like I said, you know what sleeping means when you sacrifice sleep. Till you sacrifice sleep, you take sleep for granted. You know what wealth is when you donate it without any expectation. The real meaning of wealth, you get to know when you just give it away. So that knowledge is what Bhagavan is talking about. Karma Yoga has two aspects. The knowledge aspect of this Karma Yoga, the buddhi, and the material aspect. The Ishvara Arpana buddhi, Prasada buddhi is the knowledge aspect. So Bhagavan is simply saying that this buddhi, this attitude, what makes karma into Karma Yoga, that is more important than the material ingredients of doing that. Very, very simple statement actually. The component of knowledge is superior to the component of the material ingredients. And this knowledge, regularly practiced over a period of time, again and again and again and again, you have to do everything with this Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi. You have to do everything, thinking Brahman. It is Brahman and everything is Brahman and the goal is Brahman. All of that will gradually and ultimately, that will lead to vision of the self. Samyak Darshana, which is what everyone is striving for anyway. Because that deep, ultimate happiness, everlasting happiness is within. That darshana of that ultimate happiness within, you will get if you keep doing this again and again and again, repeatedly. Just doing it once is not enough. And then Bhagavan continues. We'll go to verse 36 and 37 together.
Api chedasi papebhyaha sarvebhyah papakrittamaha sarvam jnanapyavineva vrijinam santarishyasi yathaidhamsi samiddogni bhasmasat kurute juna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha.
So Bhagavan says that even if you are most sinful of all the sinners, which is what? The most disturbed of all the disturbed human beings. That is what it means. Yet you shall surely cross, or you shall surely overcome all these sins, all the disturbances by the raft of knowledge alone. Bhagavan is talking about knowledge as the raft that helps you cross through this ocean of disturbance, this turbulent ocean of life. Use the raft of knowledge to easily cross the turbulent ocean of life. What knowledge? The knowledge of performing all your actions for the higher ideal, for Bhagavan. And he says, as the blazing fire reduces fuel to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge reduce all actions to ashes. So he gives two examples. He gives the example of raft to go through, and then he gives the example of the fire that converts fuel to ashes. Similarly, this knowledge, this fire of knowledge. And this fire of knowledge comes from what? Jnana tapasa, the austerities. Austerity is what? Sacrificing for the higher. Reduce all of the actions to ashes, which means you are not bound by the action. Once the actions are reduced to ashes, we all see that, right? We get bound by what? We get bound by our own actions, by our own selfish desires from those actions. So beautiful relation again, when you do this action thing again and again, the Indian Army comes to the mind. One night while on a patrol, we encountered another detachment or another patrol, another group of soldiers. Encountered means what? We didn't meet them face to face, but we got intelligently aware of them and immediately prepared for an ambush to kill them. But before you do everything, one thing in the army, you have to check, recheck, doubly check, triply check, ensure what you're doing is absolutely right, and then carry out the. If you fire one wrong bullet and it hits a wrong person, then it's not a mistake that can be rectified. So while decoding the communication and the messages that came, we found that these were nothing but friendly troops. They were not enemy. So what happened? Immediately the thought, the preparation, the action, everything changed. One moment you're preparing stealthily to attack them, to lay an ambush. The next moment you're greeting them in a friendly manner, knowing fully well that you are safe and they are your friends. Especially this kind of a thing really happens, especially where there are UN peace troops. In US peace troops, you will be working with different armies. You never know who is who. So similarly, the ignorant view the world as conflicting forces. This entire world is made up of conflicting forces. That's how everyone views this world. only to realize at the dawn of enlightenment. Dawn of enlightenment is nothing but the time when knowledge becomes firmly seated. At that dawn of enlightenment, we realize that there is no adversity. All these are, even all the turmoils and all these conflicts in the world are all made up. Sri Ramakrishna said, ignorance leads to diversity. Knowledge leads to unity. Like I was saying in one of the other satsang, if we are attacked by a force which is from outside of the planet Earth, then lo and behold, entire humanity will come together as one. All the differences will go away because there is some bigger difference out there. And Bhagavan continues in verse 39.
Shraddhavam labhati jnanam tatparasam yatindriyaha jnanam labdva param shantin achirena gacchati.
One who has, this is a beautiful verse of the Bhagavad Gita again. One who has faith and deep intent attains knowledge. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. With deep intent and with utter faith, one attains knowledge. And having restrained the senses, very soon, gacchati means attains, reaches peace. Shantim. So it is said that Shraddha is Shrat Dahati. Shrat Dahati iti Shraddha. Shrat means truth, reality, tattva. Dahati means one that upholds that tattva, the substratum that upholds the truth. That which upholds reality for you, for me, for all of us, that is our individual Shraddha. It is something that is not seen, but still known to be true. It's intuitively felt. It is not apparent. A unique intuitive capacity of the mind and intellect. Rabindranath Tagore said that the world starts getting ready for sunrise, knowing that it is going to happen. The birds start chirping before the first light of sun. We are not talking about humans here. The world, the entire world starts getting ready for sunrise. This example of the soldier going into battle, complete faith in his, and coming back and saluting the general and saying, "Thank you, sir." Complete faith in the commander's plan. His, क्या बोलते हैं, जान हथेली पे लेके जाता है. With 100% faith. The person who's paratrooping from 25,000 feet, with complete faith in the person who has tied his parachute. 100% faith. It is a very, very extremely complex, yet at the same time, extremely easy. Not only extremely complex, extremely easy, it is a natural acceptance. It just happens. Sometimes when you're in these real situations, you see that. It just comes naturally. You don't question. Boss ne bola, karo, chupchap ja. He says, commander has said, you are going to the war field where your life is in danger. You're jumping from a plane. So you don't have to be in an army to do that. If you do adventure sport, you trust the guy who is your guide. Whether you're doing river rafting, whether you're doing paragliding or paratrooping or whatever it may be. You trust that person. Entire 100%. You'll be fighting with your own people at home for all stupid reasons. But out there, you put your life in the hands of another Shraddhavan. Complete faith, intuitive faith. Some kind of an intuition associated with reason. Faith is the ability to see the possibility of truth, seeing the now and comprehending the future. It's not assumption, by the way, it is comprehending. And Bhagavan continues in verse 41.
Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani badnanti dhananjaya.
So Bhagavan says, he who has renounced actions through Karma Yoga. How do you renounce action through Karma Yoga? By dedicating the karma to that knowledge, like the roasted seeds in the fire of knowledge, subsuming your actions. One whose doubts are torn apart by that knowledge, jnana. One who is poised in the self. This person, Dhananjaya, actions do not bind, is not bound by the very same actions. And with that, Bhagavan concludes Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. He tells Arjuna in the last verse,
Tasmad ajnana sambhutam hristam jnanaschinatmanaha chitvainam samshayam yogam atishto bharata.
So Bhagavan says, therefore, O Bharata, Arjuna, he refers to Arjuna as Bharata, with the sword of knowledge, cut your doubts apart. Cut out your ignorance that reside in your heart. Abide in this yoga, Karma Yoga and then Jnana Yoga. First Karma Yoga with the Buddhi and then Jnana Yoga with that knowledge that comes out of that sacrifice. And he says, O Bharata, arise, get up, Arjuna, and go perform your duties. It's a beautiful chapter, this one, where Bhagavan first says, do Karma Yoga, then he says, how do you sacrifice that same Karma Yoga in this knowledge that we talked about today? What knowledge? Action in inaction, inaction in action, the ability to see it. Pashya. Hari Om.
We'll repeat today's verses. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spraha iti mam yo vijanati karma bhirna sabhadyati kim karma kim akarmeti kavayo vyatra mohitaha tatti karma pravakshyami yajnatva mokshyasi shubhat कर्मणो ह्यपि बोधव्यं बोधव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोधव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः कर्मण्यः कर्म यः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु न युक्तः कृष्णकर्मकृत् यस्य सर्वे समारम्भाः कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहुः पण्डितं बुधाः त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलसङ्गं नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्यविप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्तः सर्वपरिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम् यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टः द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः समसिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्महविः ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यं ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना सर्वे ते यज्ञविदः यज्ञाक्षिपितकल्मषः यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजः यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनं नायं लोकोऽस्त्य यज्ञस्य कूटोऽन्यः कुरु सत्तमा श्रेयान् द्रव्यमयाद् यज्ञात् ज्ञानयज्ञः परन्तप सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञानाप्लवेनैव वृजिनं सन्तरिष्यसि यतेधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निः भस्मसात् कुरुतेऽर्जुन ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा यद्भावां लभते ज्ञानं तत्परः संयतेन्द्रियः ज्ञानं लब्ध्वा परां शान्तिम् अचिरेणाधिगच्छति योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणं ज्ञानसञ्चिन्न संशयम् आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय तस्माद् अज्ञानसम्भूतं हृस्तं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोतिष्ठ भारत ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ
Hari Om. Thank you. Any thoughts, questions? Okay, if nothing else, then we can say Hari Om. Next week, Saturday, we will start the revision of chapter 5. Okay, thank you. Hari Om.